The Broken the Bookish Test Top 10 Tuesday, and the theme this week was Top 10 Winter Releases. I am going to talk about a bunch of books. Most of these are either out or come out in January or come out in February, but I'm really excited to dive into these. Most of these books I will actually be reading over the next 2 months, so you guys will see my reviews relatively quickly. The first book I'm going to chat about is Hazelwood by Melissa Alpert. This book is a Alice in Wonderland inspired retelling, and it comes out in January 2018. It is about a girl named Alice, and she and her mother tend to have pretty bad luck, and they're always on the run, and their bad luck tends to follow them. But when Alice's grandmother dies, Alice learns how bad her luck can really get. Her grandmother was actually the author of these dark fairy tales, and it's Alice sort of stays out of that. But after her grandmother dies, her mother is stolen away by a figure who says he's from these fairy tale stories, and Alice goes on an adventure to try to get her back, and she gets the help of one of her grandmother's fans, and they go on this epic adventure. Sounds really, really interesting. I love Alice in Wonderland. I think it's such a cool way to tell a story, so I'm really excited to dive into this, and hopefully I will like it. My friend Carolina just read this, and she really enjoyed it, so hopefully I will follow suit. Another book I'm going to chat about, I just got from Book Outlet, and it's called Ashen Bramble by Sarah Prenice, and the quote on the front is, "When the glass slipper doesn't." This I just literally got in the mail, and it's Ashen Bramble by Sarah Prenice, and the tagline is, "When the glass slipper doesn't fit," so assume that this is a Cinderella retelling. And I'll read you guys the back. A prince, a ball, a glass slipper left behind at midnight, the stroke of midnight. The tale is told, retold, twisted and tweaked, snipped and stretched as it leads to a happily ever after, but it's not the true story. A dark fortress, a past forgotten, a life of servitude. No one has ever broken free of the grandmother's terrible stone prison until a girl named Pin attempts her breathless, daring escape. But she discovers that what seems like freedom is a prism of another kind, one that entangles her in a story that leads to the prince, a kiss, a clock striking midnight. To unravel herself from this new life, Prin must choose between a prince and another, the one who helped her before and the one who gave her life. Torn, the only way for her to do is trade in the glass slipper for a sword and fight for her own destiny. This sounds so interesting, and I'm really, 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 almost want to read it, right now. But I will definitely have to push this up on my TBR. I know she has another one, which I think is Sleeping Beauty, I think it's Aurora. So I will have to, if I like this, I will definitely check that one out as well. And then the next two are by Holly Black. I have borrowed this book from my friend Sarah, for about a year, so I really should read this and give it back to her so she could read it. But this is Holly Black's first fae novel, The Darkest Part of the Forest, and it follows these two kids, Hazel and Ben, who have been telling each other stories since they were little about this little fairy that lives in a coffin, that's in a coffin. But eventually they give up their stories. But one day the little boy does wake up, and it kind of turns their world upside down. And it's supposed to be really, really interesting. So I really want to read this, especially before I read Cruel Prince, which is Holly Black's new fairy book, and it comes out in January. And then I know that there are some connections between these two, which is why I really want to read this before I read this. But I'm really excited to read it. It sounds really, really good, and some of the book bloggers that I have listened to really, really love this book, as well as Hazelwood, and they were some of their top books of 2017. The next book comes out a little bit later. I think this is a March release, but it's Amy Kaufman's first middle grade novel, and the first book she's actually written by herself. And yeah, I'm so excited for this. I actually want to read this month because I'm meeting her next month, and I really want to get her to sign it when she's on tour for Unearthed, which you will see later in this video. Set of twins, who, if you have watched any of my videos, you know how much I love twin books. I adore them so much. But it's about these two kids. Everyone in Hell knows that ice wolves and scorched dragons are sworn enemies who live deeply separate lives. So when 12-year-old Anders takes one Anthem form and his twin sister Rhea takes another, he wonders whether they're even related. Still, whether or not they're family. Rhea is Anders' only true friend. She's nothing like the brutal, cruel dragons who claim her as one of their own and stole her away. In order to rescue her, Anders must enlist at the Forbidden Wolf Academy, a school for young wolves that value loyalty to the pack above all else. But for Anders, loyalty is more complicated than obedience and friendship. It's the most powerful shape-shifting force of all. New York Times bestselling author delivers her heart-pounding adventure, breathtaking magical inventions in this unforgettable world about finding one's place in a sharply divided world. That sounds really good. So really, hopefully, I really want to read all these books, but this sounds really good, and I hope to read it before I get to see Amy Kaufman, so I can gush a little about it when I meet her. And the next book is another book that it comes out in January, and this is Reign of the Fallen by Sarah Glen Marsh. I was able to pick this up from Penguin at New York City Comic Con as well. LGBTQ story, and it's about necromancy, because Odessa is one of the land's leading necromancers, and it is common knowledge that if a body is unclothed when the process begins, then they can come back from the dead. And when there's a sharp uptick in, the bodies rising into zombies, someone is convinced that they are doing it on purpose, and it is Odessa's job to figure out what is going on. I've heard really good things about this, so hopefully I get to read it soon. The next book I'm going to talk about is Black Star Renegades by Michael Mordici. I actually was able to meet him at New York City Comic Con, and this is I'm just going to read you the back because it's really, really small. Blending the space operations of Star Wars, the swagger of Guardians of the Galaxy, Black Star Renegades is the galaxy-hopping adventure that blasts its way from seedy space bars to secret temples guarded by deadly creatures, all with a cast of misfits characters who have nowhere to go and nothing to lose. That sounds pretty exciting, and I am on a kick with Legends of Tomorrow, and this sounds really, really good. And I'm also going to see Star Wars next month, so hopefully I will like this just as much. The next book I will admit, was one of the highlights of the convention for me, not only for this cover is so pretty, but it's Everless by Sarah Holland, and this comes out in January as well. Time is a prison, she is the key. What is a day worth? In the kingdom of Sempra, time is money, extracted from blood, traded in coins, and taxed to the hilt. Discover the world of Everless. A fatal accident once inspired Jules and her father to free Everless, a powerful family's plantation, but 10 years later, to save her dying father, Jules must return. Everless holds more temptations and dangers than Jules thought possible. Soon she's caught up in a tangle of violent secrets, finds her heart torn between two people who thought she'd never see again. Her decisions have the power to change her fate and the fate of time itself. Again, sounds really, really cool. Hopefully I'll get to read it soon. Now, this book was the one I wanted to get signed the most at New York City Comic Con, and it's Zeniths by Sasha Elberg and Lindsay Cummings. This is another sci-fi space opera. Heard such good things about it, and I really, really want to read it. So hopefully this will get read soon. And this is the last physical book I'm going to talk about. But this is Unearthed, which is by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner, and this was pitched to me as Lara Croft Tomb Raider in space, and I'm so excited to read this. And I really do want to read this before I go see them, so hopefully this will definitely be a read for December. And the last two books I'm going to talk about, I don't have arcs of. Oh my god, I would die if I did have arcs of them, but I don't. And one is Heart of Iron by Ashley Poston, which is another space book. My god, I'm going to be reading so many space books in the next couple of months. But that is an Anastasia retelling in space, which I think sounds spectacular. And then the last one is Katie McGarry's book, Say You Will Remember Me, which is a new, I don't know if it's a standalone or start of a new series for her. She normally does like books and like series, but it is her new release, and I'm really excited to read it come January. These are all the books that I hope to read in the next couple of months. Let me know in the comments what summer or winter books you're excited for. There are some more on my shelves, but I could only pick 10, so I will have to do another one for like March and April, in February, March, and April, in maybe like a month or so. But I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!